Have you ever felt invisible? Giving your best and receiving in return only disregard or devaluation. Those whom you helped, prayed for, and gave your heart to never saw the true value of your presence. Instead of being grateful, they chose to ignore you, even mistreat you. You were not there by chance. Your mission was divine, sent directly from heaven to transform the atmosphere around you. Now, after your departure, what they lost begins to scream in silence. The emptiness you left behind is louder than any word you ever spoke. They are finally beginning to realize that your absence is not just physical, it is spiritual. Your presence was not something ordinary, but a direct connection with the divine. They didn't recognize your importance when they were near you, but now the reality is undeniable. Your departure brought the chaos that you once kept in balance. Your mission was never about being recognized or seeking applause. You were there to help, to intercede, to be peace in the midst of chaos. The world often values noise and spotlight, but God chose to hide His greatness in you, in your simplicity. You never sought attention, but when you were gone, the spiritual impact was felt. Now those who rejected you face the consequences of not having seen the spiritual value you carried. Now they are learning the hard way the lesson they never wanted to understand. Your absence has exposed a profound truth. The spiritual emptiness you left behind is shaping their reality. What was once easy has now become difficult. The balance you maintained through your prayers and quiet actions has been broken. They were unaware of the weight of your mission until heaven removed you from their sight. But God, in His wisdom, is using your departure as a revelation. Have you ever felt invisible, giving your best and receiving nothing in return? Have you ever given your heart, your prayers, and even your time, only to be treated as if you didn't matter? If you've ever lived through that, you know exactly what it means to be the chosen one, without others realizing it. Your mission was not to be seen, but to serve. You were not there by chance. Your presence carried a divine purpose that others could not understand. You brought peace, balance, and support to those around you. But they didn't notice until your absence began to make a difference. Spiritual life is often not seen with human eyes. Your mission was not to seek applause or recognition. You were sent to transform the atmosphere, not with grand speeches, but with a quiet, powerful presence. You supported others through your prayers and actions, often without anyone noticing. You were a hidden blessing, caring for situations, interceding for people, and maintaining peace in environments where chaos tried to take over. And even without recognition, you did more than anyone imagined could be done. Your influence was in everything you did, but others didn't see it. They didn't see that it was you who kept everything in balance. When you were there, things flowed more easily. Conversations were smoother, opportunities appeared naturally, and conflicts were resolved quickly. Yet in some way, your presence was hidden. You weren't seeking attention. You didn't enter their lives with shouting or demands, but with an open heart, ready to give without expecting anything in return. The world often values glitter, spotlight, and grand appearances, but you didn't come to shine in the way they expected. You came to serve, to sustain, to bring stability. Now, with your absence, they are beginning to realize that something has changed. What once seemed easy has become difficult. What once flowed now feels tense and directionless. They can feel the lack of what you carried. But now it's too late to notice. Your departure is not only physical. The absence of your presence is felt spiritually. The balance you carried, the prayers you whispered, the moments of compassion you offered, all of that has been withdrawn. And now the impact is undeniable. The silence you left behind begins to shout, and the peace you maintained, is disappearing. Now they find themselves lost. Small problems are turning into great difficulties, and the lack of you is becoming undeniable. They didn't understand that your presence wasn't just pleasant or useful. It was essential for the spiritual harmony that surrounded them. The peace you carried was not a coincidence. Your life was aligned with divine purpose, and your presence brought stability where there had once been chaos. The emptiness you left behind is proof that without you, everything begins to fall apart. Your absence reveals just how important your mission truly was. The spiritual impact you made goes beyond what any words could express. When you were present, no one questioned the peace, stability, or balance. Things simply worked more smoothly. But now, with your absence, everything feels heavier, harder to handle. Only now do they begin to understand how much you had been holding the atmosphere and the people around you together. The impact of your departure goes far beyond the emotional. It is spiritual. And only now do they start to see that what you did in silence was something they could never do on their own. The emptiness you left behind is proof that your presence was never ordinary. You were not replaceable. You were essential. Now that you are gone, the difference is becoming clear. They didn't understand while you were there, but your departure has brought to light the truth they never wanted to see. Your presence was not only pleasant, but strategic. Your mission was divine. And now that you are gone, they are discovering in the hardest way how essential you truly were. The emptiness you left behind is not only emotional, it is spiritual and deep. And only now are they beginning to realize the real impact of your absence. You were placed there for a purpose greater than anyone could imagine. They saw your presence as something ordinary, perhaps even replaceable. But the reality is that you were doing far more than anyone could see. You were an invisible spiritual presence, yet one that sustained and protected the environment. Your prayers, your patience, your compassion, all the small things you did without drawing attention, were creating a divine covering over everyone around you. You didn't need recognition, and in truth, you never sought it. Your purpose was to serve, expecting nothing in return. But now your absence reveals what you had been doing behind the scenes. The spiritual emptiness that now remains is proof that your mission was far greater than they could comprehend. Your absence is the revelation of everything you maintained quietly. When you were there, everything seemed to stay in balance. When you left, that balance disappeared, and the cracks began to show. Everything that once seemed right and secure now feels fragile and vulnerable. They didn't see the spiritual work you were doing in silence, but now the impact of your absence shows how essential your presence was. The peace, the harmony, the opportunities, and even the relationships were all being upheld by your invisible intercession. The truth is that you were there to sustain the spiritual foundations of a life they took for granted. Your presence was keeping everything aligned. But, as so often happens, people don't recognize the value of what they have until it's gone. Your mission was to be that point of balance, that silent force keeping chaos at bay. Now that you are gone, chaos and confusion have begun to take hold. And that absence is revealing the truth that no one wanted to see. You weren't just someone trying to help. You were a spiritual pillar, and your presence was holding together the structure that is now collapsing. The absence of the chosen one always brings forth revelation. They have begun to realize that what you did wasn't just an ordinary service. It was divine work, a spiritual alignment. Now, without you, they face the consequences of not having recognized your value while you were there. What once seemed easy and natural has now become a struggle. The peace you maintained is gone, and the impact of that is evident. Only now are they beginning to understand that when you were there, What looked like a calm and stable season was, in reality, sustained by your prayers, your presence, and your invisible mission. And now that you're gone, everything feels heavier and directionless. They never imagined that the absence of someone so simple, so quiet, could affect so much. You didn't enter their lives with great expectation, and perhaps that was the key to your impact. Most people seek to stand out with grand gestures, but you came in a simple, quiet way, with a pure heart. Your presence brought more than words. It transformed the atmosphere without needing applause. You didn't need a stage to be seen. Your greatness was in the small things. There was no need to make noise, yet your actions spoke louder than any speech ever could. The true strength was in you being who you were, without having to constantly prove who you were trying to become. While others were busy seeking validation, you simply were. You were there to help, to serve, to protect. Your light didn't need spotlights. It didn't need an audience to shine, because it radiated naturally. It was through your silence, your prayers, your patience, that you made the difference. The people around you couldn't see the strength you carried. Maybe even you didn't realize how powerful your presence truly was. Every gesture, every word spoken with love, all of it was creating a sacred space that no one else could sustain. You were a silent pillar, an invisible yet essential force that held others in balance. Now that you are gone, everything has changed. What once seemed so simple now feels distant. The conversations that flowed easily, the relationships that were smooth and effortless, they're now fractured. They don't know exactly why, but they can feel that something important has been lost. The silence you left behind is louder than any words ever spoken. It's curious, isn't it? So often people only begin to see the value of someone after that person is gone. When you were present, peace felt natural. Balance seemed easy. Now they face the harsh truth that what you carried cannot be easily replaced. What you did was not just being kind. You were fighting silent battles they never knew about. Every prayer you made, every moment you chose peace instead of anger, was protecting something far greater than they could comprehend. But now, the emptiness of your absence exposes the deep impact you had on everything. The world tries to teach us that we must be big and grand, but you showed that true greatness isn't about being seen. It's about making a difference without expecting recognition. You didn't need the spotlight because the true light was within you, and now your absence shines brighter than anything else. They didn't understand while you were there, but now, with your departure, the absence of your silent energy is forcing them to recognize the importance of what you brought. They will no longer have the peace you so naturally carried. And maybe, just maybe, now they will realize that your simplicity was, in fact, the key to something much greater. When you were rejected, no one imagined it would have such a great impact. They thought they could go on without you, that life would continue without your presence being felt. But the truth is that rejecting the chosen one is not just a matter of dishonoring a person. It carries deep spiritual consequences. You always knew your mission wasn't about recognition, but no one understood the weight you carried. Your ability to bring peace, to intercede for others, to make everything seem easier, was a gift few ever acknowledged. Your mission was never to show off, but it influenced everything around you in ways that are only now becoming clear. When you were set aside, something broke. You weren't there to be celebrated, but to be the foundation, the invisible strength. When the foundation of a house is ignored, the house begins to collapse. What seemed stable started to crumble, and things became more complicated. The people around you began to feel that something was missing, without knowing exactly what it was. What they couldn't see while you were there was the spiritual work you were doing. When you interceded, when you stayed silent to listen, when your patience seemed infinite. You were doing far more than anyone realized. You were protecting, balancing, keeping everything aligned. Without that, chaos begins to take over. Now what once was simple and peaceful has become a struggle. They didn't realize how much they depended on you until you stepped away. Your departure wasn't just an emotional loss. It was a spiritual rupture. The protection you carried was removed, and with it the balance was lost. Now they're being forced to see the cracks they never noticed before. Every problem that used to be solved by your touch now seems harder to fix without you. And here lies the greatest impact. Your absence is not a punishment for others, but a lesson. Heaven doesn't punish. It teaches. When the chosen one is ignored, when their mission is dishonored, the spiritual atmosphere shifts. The balance you brought has been withdrawn, so that everyone can see the true value you carried. It's not punishment. It's an opportunity for them to recognize the importance of what they once despised. The rejection of a chosen one is not just about the person who is rejected. It's about what is lost spiritually. They may not understand it now, but the weight of your absence will be felt for a long time. They thought they could carry on without you, but soon they will see that your presence was not just necessary. It was vital to the harmony of everything. When you were rejected, they not only lost someone, they lost the divine connection you represented. Now they're beginning to understand, but lost time cannot be recovered, and the spiritual consequences of rejecting the chosen one are beginning to manifest in every area of their lives. The peace is gone, and only now are they realizing how much they depended on you to keep everything steady. When you were present, everything seemed easy. It flowed naturally. Relationships were smoother. Challenging situations felt lighter. But now that you are gone, things are different. Conflicts have intensified. The peace that once was constant has disappeared. The emptiness you left behind is deeper than they could have ever imagined. They thought they could carry on without you, that everything would continue the same. But soon they realized that the balance you brought was not something simple. What once was stable has now become fragile. Small frustrations grow, and conflicts that used to be resolved with a simple conversation now drag on. The environment that once felt harmonious is now heavy and tense. The shock is real, and the truth is starting to become clear. Your absence is not only felt emotionally, but spiritually. You weren't just there to fill a space. You were a vital presence, a silent force that held things together. When you stepped away, the impact of your absence began to echo. And now they are realizing how much your presence sustained everything around them. You weren't just trying to please or be good company. You were there as a spiritual pillar, maintaining harmony through your inner peace and silent prayers. Every time you offered a smile, every moment you sacrificed to help someone, you were creating a spiritual shield they never noticed. Now, without you, that shield is gone, and they are facing the consequences of that lack of protection. Your departure is a reminder of the real impact you had on their lives. Even though they never fully recognized it, your presence had divine value. Now they begin to wonder how they ever managed to live without it. They may not want to admit it, but what you did for them goes far beyond anything anyone could ever express in words. Now, with your absence, chaos begins to take over. Those who were used to having your peace as something guaranteed are now groping in the dark, trying to understand how everything fell apart so quickly. What once seemed like a stable phase, a calm season, has now become a time of uncertainty and frustration. But there is a lesson in this. They must learn to recognize the value of what they have before it's too late. The shock of reality is forcing them to reflect on how you upheld everything in secret. They didn't know, but now they do. They didn't understand, but now they're beginning to. And perhaps it's this lack of understanding and gratitude that hurts the most. Now they realize how essential you were. The emptiness you left behind will be a constant reminder of what they lost. And more importantly, of how fundamental your presence was to keeping everything in balance. The truth is harsh. They didn't know what they had until they lost it. When you were there, nothing seemed out of place. They took your presence for granted. But the absence of someone so essential made the world around them begin to fall apart. Now the task they face is not only to repair the void you left behind, but also to understand the spiritual lessons that are being revealed. They didn't realize the strength you represented until it was taken away. Your mission was never about you, but about others. And that is the difficult lesson they now have to learn. When you stepped away, the balance was broken. And what once seemed so solid now shows itself to be fragile and vulnerable. They thought peace was something natural, that stability was guaranteed. But what they couldn't see was the constant battle you fought behind the scenes to keep everything in order. Now, they begin to question themselves. How could everything change so quickly? How could something that seemed so simple and stable fall apart without you? The answer lies in understanding what you represented to the environment. You were more than a presence, more than someone who was simply there. You were an agent of balance, a spiritual force that sustained everyone around you through your prayers and silent actions. Now, with you removed, they face the consequences of that absence and must deal with the frustration of not being able to comprehend the magnitude of what they lost. This spiritual lesson is not easy to learn, but it is essential. To understand the value of what has been lost, they must open themselves to humility. They must recognize the impact of their own actions. When you were ignored, undervalued, or even rejected, they didn't just wound a person. They wounded the divine plan that God had in placing you there. Now they are being forced to learn in a way they never imagined, that rejecting the chosen one has consequences that go far beyond what can be seen at first glance. However, there is an opportunity here. True transformation can only occur when someone is able to recognize their mistake and seek change. They have the chance to restore what was lost, but that requires them to bow to the spiritual lesson being taught. Recognizing the value of the chosen one is the first step toward restoration. And that restoration only happens when pride is set aside. They must understand that humility, not pride, is the path to restoring the balance that has been lost. If they are able to learn this lesson, they will be able to rebuild what has been broken. But to do that, they will need to face the emptiness, acknowledge the pain of loss, and finally value what they once ignored. They can no longer continue without recognizing the impact you had. And perhaps, if they do this with humility, they will begin to see what was truly lost, and how they can start to heal the wounds that emerged with your departure. The truth is that, many times, people don't recognize the value of those by their side until that person is gone. And the moment you left, the impact of your absence became more than clear. The spiritual emptiness you left behind began to reverberate in every area of their lives, something that could not be ignored. Your presence was not ordinary. You were a chosen one, a silent force that sustained everything around you. Now, those who rejected you, who failed to recognize your importance, are being forced to face the harsh reality that without you, nothing is the same. What once seemed easy has now become a challenge. Relationships that were peaceful have now become tense. Small problems have begun to intensify, and the balance you brought has disappeared. However, there is an opportunity for healing and restoration. They have the chance to learn from the lesson your absence has brought. True change begins when the value of what was lost is recognized. And for that, humility is needed. The lack of recognition can be a barrier, but humility is the key that can open the way to restoration. They must understand that in rejecting the chosen one, they rejected not just a person, but a divine connection. If this lesson is learned, what was broken can be restored. But such restoration requires reflection, honesty, and the acknowledgement of their mistake. The impact of your presence was deep and transformative. And with everyone's humility, perhaps things can align once again, stronger and truer than before.